Yo, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, baby, representing Team Kings of Games. And today I'm going to be talking about the top 10 best decks of the current format. And if there's time in this video, maybe not, we'll do a separate video, the top 10 sleeper decks. There's quite a few decks that are actually really good. Not really quite a few, there's a lot. There's definitely some honorable mentions that deserve to get shouted out. Honestly, let me check this. I'm actually writing on this list. Okay, there we go. So yeah, basically the top 10 best decks right now as things stand. It's an online format, so it's a little bit different, you know. Some things you have to take with a grain of salt. Like, for example, if a deck tops one event and that's all it's done for a while, I'm not gonna put it into the top 10 just because of that. So these decks have to be tried and true and have proven results, or also some of these decks just have that crazy potential that some people have been able to tap into a percentage of it and already see that level of success, but still haven't squeezed every bit of potential they can get out of the deck, which means the deck can only get better once people figure out the lines of plays and the intricacies. Some of these decks aren't easy to pilot, but the top 10 best decks is going to be honorable shout outs, honorable mentions, and then I have the top 10 best sleeper decks, and it's really hard to just get 10. So I had some of those that were kind of falling in the same category if they're very similar in their play style. You know, for example, like when you got Draco, Guru, and Geist, you know, they're kind of like, it's not like the same exact deck. The play style can be a little bit different, like the damage ceiling, like the damage output and the, you know, closing the game could be different. And sometimes they can play more floodgates than others. But ultimately, they're just kind of like back row heavy control decks that don't rely too much on their monster effects to get their game plan. But I'm going to go ahead and get into the top 10. Just keep in mind that this is based off of research, what I've seen, and also what I do know. Some of these I just know how good they are. I've seen it, and I personally just know that these decks are incredible. Some decks got a little bit overshadowed, but at the same time, they are still tried and true, and they have the same ceiling and the same capabilities that they had before. They just got overshadowed, not power crept. There's power crept, and then there's overshadowed. Overshadow is when another deck or a couple other decks. Oh yeah, and that's my babies in the background watching My Little Pony and Angry Birds too, so that's the background noise. But some decks just get overshadowed to the point where it's like, it's not like the deck's good, there's just so many decks that are so much more popular that those decks kind of just they get left out on the wayside, I guess you could say. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with number 10. And number 10, I put down Guru Control. Now, it was like, I crossed off a few things, you know. I had to make a top 10 sleeper decks too, because I was like, then there's just so many good decks. Like, that's one thing. Don't ever be a bandwagoner, because there's just too many decks out there that are all really good. I'm talking about like all these decks can do something. Zombie Control. The reason why I put number 10 in Zombie Control, zombies already kind of had their I can say zombies are like tried and true too, because they've had a really long run. Not in the sense that they've just been topping every event, but zombies, you're just always going to have zombie players trying to make sure that that deck can stay relevant. And Eldlich, I feel, is something that was supposed to be used for zombies to make it a better deck, but then it just got turned into this just like this Needle Fiber Turbo deck, and it kind of sucks. But I still believe that there is very good synergy between the Eldlich cards and the zombie cards themselves, the zombie cards that came from the structure deck. Zombie Control has a lot of good things going for itself. You know, it has its own lock with Rivalry of the Warlords and Zombie World, which is kind of like dang near a Vanity's Emptiness. It does have a good board-breaking mechanic. You know, it's pretty good at going second. And I wouldn't say it's a board-breaking mechanic, but it is really solid going first or second. So I'll retract the previous statement, and just say this. It's a solid deck going first or second. It's really capable of grinding. It can put up soft locks and hard locks. And at the same time, it doesn't really burn out in one turn, which is a strength that you really need for a deck to be meta viable. It has to be able to grind to an extent and just be able to have contingencies and follow-up plays, you know, so that if you get interrupted too many times, you'll be able to grind. That's one of the things that's really important for a deck to stay meta relevant. If you get interrupted too many times, can you still grind? That's why Eldlich is so good, because you can get interrupted on your combo aspect of your deck, and those portions can be shut down, and you can still have a backup plan. But with zombies, the deck, it really just thrives by having Zombie World up, because Belladrock is a card, and that in itself is such an impressive boss monster, being able to banish monsters and negate effects, and how he just constantly floats from the grave every standby. Like, that's just crazy, you guys. Like, that's a really strong card. Belladrock in itself just makes zombies so strong. They have Unizombie, we have Mizuki, you know, we have Solitaire, we have Glow Up Bloom, we have Banshee, we have the Danger cards, you know, we have Called by the Grave. You know, there's some really good staples that make the deck very consistent, and it has seen success competitively. In addition to that, there's even combo variants of zombies utilizing Needle Fiber, not just to go to Glow Up Bloom, but you could even take it a step further. Just make sure you're paying attention to when you actually use the effects that lock you out for the rest of the turn into only zombies. But zombie control, I feel, it doesn't have to be necessarily control. You could just say zombies in general. You could even include Eldlich in that, because Eldlich is actually a zombie deck. It's supposed to be a zombie deck. I don't know what's going on with it right now, but zombie control definitely got number 10, and it's been a long time coming for the zombie players. So I know people watching this that are zombie players are like really happy to see zombies succeeding, because they really have been actually doing something, which is really cool. In number 9, I actually put down Shaddolls in all variants. Now Shaddolls is not a deck it's not a deck that got power crept. It's a deck that got overshadowed, because when you consider Shaddolls paired up across the playing field, it's a really strong deck. Like, I myself do play Shaddolls, so I know what I'm talking about, and it's not a bias, because if I was being biased, honestly, you know, I guess you could say it's somewhat biased just by including it in the top 10, but if it was biased, I would put them higher, because I do feel like Shaddolls are stronger than a lot of these other decks that are on this list. But it just got, basically, not power crept, but it actually got, I guess you could say, it just got, what's the word I was saying earlier, when a deck just becomes so popular, it just got overshadowed. Like, Shaddolls just really got overshadowed. Spirals and Lunalights took the axe on the ban list, and Shaddolls stayed at full power with all their tools and their access, everything they can access, including the invoked cards. Invoked is pretty much just untouched. You know, terraforming doesn't really count. So there's three Meltdowns, 3 Ousters, 3 Invocations. You still have all that. And Meltdown's a really powerful card in itself. So even Invoke Shaddolls are really powerful. But just in general, Shaddolls are a contender. Winda is an incredibly impressive card. Even if people want to talk about Dark Rule and No More and things of that nature, one of the things with Shaddolls, they are able to summon multiple Windas. If you're able to if you're playing your deck correctly, you're able to summon a second one on your opponent's turn using El Shaddol Fusion or even Incarnation. And Winda itself shuts down combo variants of Adamancipators, shuts down Salamangreats, it shuts down Mekk-Knight invokes to an extent. It can even shut down Dinos with the way they're playing with Archosaur, special summoning multiple times. It can shut down Mermail. It can shut down Orcust. It could even shut down Zombie Control. You know, there's not very many decks that can actually just play with one special summon. And considering the fact that Winda's normally not left alone, she's normally backed up with an Appaloosa or a Dweller or a Mechaba, or even El Shaddol and Incarnation and a plethora of hand traps depending on the variant you're playing. The fact that the deck has a consistent grind game, it's just a really... Can you turn that down, Arya, please? It's just a really consistent deck. It's able to do some really degenerate things. Even with Union Carry, you're able to lock your opponent out their extra deck and grant them only one special summon. And at the same time, you can even check on my channel. I guarantee that I can confirm that Shaddolls are able to play going second without hand traps and break 6 negate boards. Just through the sheer mechanic, the fusion summoning mechanic, having multiple fusion outlets, the chain blocking of this deck is insane. It snowballs out of control. The deck is just absolutely a powerhouse. It really is. And anybody that would say something bad about Shaddolls now is probably the same person that was saying Shaddolls was the best deck when Spiral was at full power, you know. And Spiral was an impressive deck as well, but Needle Fiber Turbo decks are just kind of just a different breed. But I will say, if you just take away Shikinaga, take away Construct, take away Grista, take away, you know, Opcolone and all the grind, like the grind game that the Shaddolls have, just Winda by herself already claps the cheeks of dang near every deck on the top 10. Just by herself. Lightning Storm does nothing. Evenly matched, keep the Winda. Kaiju, summon another window. All the fusions replace themselves. Dark Ruler no more. Summon another Winda. If you know what you're doing, you have an El Shaddol fusion face down. That's how you play around Dark Ruler no more. That's how you play around evenly. You could play around evenly just by keeping the Winda. You play around Dark Ruler no more with an extra L. You can't even get Lightning Storm. You Kaiju, you summon another Winda. It's just really annoying playing against this deck. Anybody that played against Shaddolls when they were popular knew it got to a point where people were saying, look, Winda needs to be addressed. Somebody needs to hit Shaddol Fusion. It's a 1-card OTK. So definitely stop sleeping on this deck, like, and stop listening. Like, don't take somebody's opinion and mold it into your own. Because if you know what the deck's capable of, don't just be like, oh, because everybody says it's bad, I'm just going to listen to them. No, the deck is incredible. It's in number 9 of the top 10 best decks. It's tried and true. It has its own results to back it up. So continuing in number 8, we have Madolches. Madolches is like another euphoric deck like Shaddolls. You know, it's like an oldie but a goodie. And they got some new support that actually made them a stronger deck going first, because that was one of the weak points of the deck. It was like, dang, going first, it didn't really have much going for itself. Now it not only can set up a wall that's nearly impregnable, but also it has multiple ways to interrupt your opponent. They can be minimalistic one-for-one interactions like Promenade, you know, is just a negate for 1 card. And Souffle can only disrupt the grave, just 1 card. But still, having multiple interruptions and a board that's nearly impregnable, it's kind of like when you summon multiple Colossuses, right? You know, it's just, that's just how it is. So it's like, it's not that oppressive, but it's the fact that, dang, to get rid of the board, you have to work so hard, and you put all these resources into breaking this board, when Madolches can easily clap your cheeks on the follow-off just off of one card. So they build a lot of tempo. They really do. They build a lot of tempo. It's like Shaddolls too. They build a lot of tempo, and it kind of just gets to a point where it's like, dang, I need to hurry up and kill this deck right now, or they're about to OTK me out of nowhere. So Madolches are really aggressive. They can definitely contend. They're tried and true. You know, they got new support that made the deck even stronger, and it actually has done some things in the online competitive format. In number 7, I gave Orcust in all variants. That's my son in the background. He's just, hey! Thank you. Orcust in all variants. So Orcust in all variants, that includes Danger, that includes Scrap Orcust, Mekk-Knight Orcust, you know, that includes any variant of Orcust that you're playing, even if it's Machina Orcust. You know, Orcust is another deck. It's just like, dang, it's tried and true. It's a really strong deck. It's kind of oppressive in a sense, where it's like, dang, when this deck was in its prime, goodness gracious. On top of that, it was like the Zoo engine, where it's just like you were able to splash Orcust in anything. Just, you know, you throw a couple Orcust cards in your deck. Now your deck just has a naturally a higher ceiling. You know, Mermail got banned so that Orcust could stay as pure as they could be. But people have been exploiting some of these cards and other engines that have synergy with the Orcust cards, and have been seeing success. Scrap Orcust have insanely powerful one-card combos, really, really strong boards. And the thing about this deck too, as long as you play your cards right, you can have consistent follow-ups over and over and over. So this deck can grind. It's really solid going second. It kind of just, it's so weird how it plays through so many interruptions and is able to still end on a board that can actually snowball. Like Madolche, it can build its tempo. So it plays really good on your turn, but then with Babel up on your opponent's turn, that's where you start to build your tempo up even more. And it's like, dang, okay, you're only playing through a crescendo and maybe an extra interruption. Maybe it's 2 to 3. Sometimes people are setting up 7 interruptions with this deck. You can make Opelousas turn 1. Look, you already had some already, okay? No more. So people can set up like 7 interruptions, but the thing is, it's not just the interruptions, it's how Orcust can do it over and over and over and over and over again. As long as you're playing your cards right, Crescendo is going to be a follow-up for you, making sure that you're utilizing Mermail to get the wand, so that wand can bring back, you know, not your Mermail, but your Orcust Nightmare, bring back Nightmare, making sure that you're always leaving an Orcust card engraved so that you can play on your follow-up. This deck is just really, really powerful. Honestly, even with Mekk-Knight Orcust Gear Suit, it just got better. Orcust is definitely a really, really strong deck. I don't think anybody would ever say that it cannot be meta viable. It's like, it's still good. Even before Orcust Gear Suit came out, Orcust was still doing stuff. It actually topped with Hardcore being at 0 and no Mermaid, you know, no PK engine, no summon sorcerers, none of that. It's like, dang, you know, the deck took a couple of hits and it's still hanging in there. Number 6, I put Mermail / Water. Now the thing with this deck, it's one of those decks I was saying, like, where it's people are using it and they've tapped into some of the potential, but because the deck has so much more potential, it can only get better, and it has some new cards that are coming out in Eternity Code that are actually going to make this deck one of the most annoying, degenerate cancer decks going first ever. Some of these decks are good going first, but Mermail is almost like an FTK, where just going first, if you do not have an answer, you just automatically lose the duel. If Orcust go first, you know, if Adamancipator goes first, at least you could have Dark Ruler No More plus Cosmic Cyclone and you could play, right? Even though it's a 2-card combo, it's like, still, you might be able to play. Sally goes first, you could play. You know, Dino goes first, you might still be able to play. Calamities can stop you for a turn, but losing your entire hand in the process is just like, ow, like, dang, you know, I don't even have anything to play for the next turn. Even Orcust and Madolches, you know, Shaddolls and zombies, you can play to an extent. Wind is not going to kill everything. And, you know, if you have multiple ways to deal with Wind, I'd say, like, if you're playing Eldlich and you open Golden Boy plus a spell and a Cyclone, you could out the Winda and probably bait the El Shaddol fusion to preemptively activate. So there's ways to even beat the Wind a lot. But with Mermail, it's just a different breed. It's a really powerful combo deck with these new Deep Sea cards, especially Deep Sea Aria. That's just a really, really strong card. It's able to take care of the hand traps that actually would hurt it before it even starts its combo. It can start its combo off as ripping out the Nibiru. ripping out, you know, like I feel like at this point it's like, dang, you just need a dimension shifter on the standby to like just stop this deck, because Mermail is just a powerhouse. You know, it had consistency issues in the past, but with 3 Neptibus, 3 Deep Sea Divas, 3 Arias, the Deep Sea cards in tandem with Dragoons, you know, the fact that you have so many 2-in-1 card combos, the deck is just super impressive. It utilizes Hulky Fibrex as well. It's able to summon True King of all Calamities. You can rip so many cards out of your opponent's hand. It's like, even without the Calamities, how are you supposed to play? And then you could still in on cards like Totally Awesome. You could still put up Mermail Abyss Gaius with an equip spell just to negate the first spell or monster effect they use. It's just like, dang, like this deck, and it's still strong going second. You know, it can still OTK you out of nowhere. So I feel like Mermail's in the right hands. As long as somebody finds a balance to make the deck just as capable or close to as capable of going second as it is going first, this deck can easily be a ridiculous powerhouse. Like one of those decks where it's just like, okay, we need to do something about this. Because already, even though it's not as popular as some of these decks, nobody wants to get paired against Mermails. Going second against it, like, it's just one of those decks. It's like an FTK deck. Like I'm saying, it's like just going first is like an auto win. Like you remember back in the day when Gokis had the extra link and Gumblar for 4. So it was like when you went first against Gokis and you didn't have a hand trap, you might as well just pick your cards up and go to game 2. That's the same thing with Mermails. Like if you're paired against Mermails and you don't have a hand trap, it's like, dang, you might as well just go to game 2 because this deck is really that good. So I put it in number 6. It's probably going to go higher. Because in the right hands, like I'm saying, if a competent player figures out, okay, we have a balance for going first, we just need some solid going second cards and find some synergizing hand traps with this deck so it can go second effectively, it's just going to be a good double-edged sword with like a sword and shield, just a jack of all trades kind of deck. Like it could just do it all. So next thing in number 5, I have Dinosaurs in all variants. Dinos are just one of those really, really strong decks. It can be oppressive. At the same time, it can be aggressive. It's a really, really unique deck in the sense that there's so many variants. Even splashable engine, you know, as an engine, you can splash, just for example, back in the day, it was like 3 Fossil Dig, 3 Overraptor, you know, a Quadalix and a Peel and a Conductor. You know, that would just get you like a 1-card boss monster. You know, it's just like Overraptor is just so stupid. And now with the Archosaur or whatever, the level 1 Archosaur, whatever it's called, it's like now they are utilizing their babies. Now they are utilizing Lost World. So the deck is even more explosive. And it always had those cards, but this new card that just came out in Attorney Code just like broke the deck. Now it has like 1 and 2 card combos. It's just so stupid, like in a good way. But it's like, dang, why is this deck so good? Dinosaurs are strong. And going second, people were playing going second Dinos. Like we already know, this deck actually used to be considered to most people better as a going second deck than it is going first. But now with these new cards that it's able to utilize and Needle Fiber as well, it can go first just as good, if not better probably. People are preferring going first with Dinosaurs. It can completely lock you out of the game. It can summon multiple interruptions like a turn 1 Overtext, Logia, Conductor, True King of all Calamities after you lost a card out of your hand. You're under True King of all Calamities or VFD, Chlamydia if you want to ask me, Conductor, Overtext, and Logia. You can Dark Rule it no more and still lose to the VFD because you're locked. You're not even going to be able to Imperm because Overtext and Logia can answer the Imperm if you chain it to True King of all Calamities. Like this deck, like it's kind of like Mermail. So I put it a little bit higher than Mermail's because the reason being, it can do some very degenerate things going first like Mermail's, but except going second, it does a better job than Mermail's can do because it's able to play through multiple interruptions. And let's not forget about Miscellaneousaurus. Just tip your hat off to Miscellaneousaurus. Why does that card even exist? Like, that card's stupid. It's like you're called by the grave. It protects your Dinosaurs from Nibiru. You could spam the board with Dinos and just not get Nibiru because it can only be used in main phase and you're under the protection of Miscellaneousaurus. Nibiru is an activated effect. So is Ash, Imperm, and every hand trap that you would use. You would have to like Siphon, Gear, Gamma, the Miscellaneousaurus to even be able to do something. It's just... this deck is just stupid, you guys. In number 4, I put down Mekk-Knights. Now, again, this is another deck that actually has some really degenerate combos going. You have Mekk-Knights in all variants, so that's invoked included. Mekk-Knights, utilizing their field spell Scars with Gear Suit, that card that came out in Eternity Code. Now this deck is doing something that Mermail's is doing, but on a completely different level. It's taking everything from you turn 1. Like, it's taking like... everything. I think it even takes your whole extra deck away. Like, that's just so silly, you guys. Like, Mekk-Knights, that's just like a goofy combo for no reason. But it gives it a viable going first play style, or I guess you could say a win condition. Because Mekk-Knight Invoke is high-key strong going second. Like, dang, I myself have slept on this deck, and it's like seeing it play and top multiple times and do so well in the competitive format. It's so good. It can actually grind. It has huge bodies. It has access to some of the most powerful World Legacy cards. It can summon cards like Leap and the Mekk-Knight Morningstar, or whatever that card's name is. It can even search its gear suit. It's just, this deck is kind of stupid. Just a little bit. I gotta say, Mekk-Knights are just like, wow. You know, I say wow, it's like, wow. Like, this deck is actually really, really strong. Like, you definitely don't want to sleep on this. You would normally make it go second. I mean, you normally make it go first because it's naturally a going second deck. It's sometimes difficult to set up multiple columns for you to summon your Mekk-Knights, but now because of Gear Suit and them utilizing Scars, it's like, dang, you can make it go first thinking that it's only going to summon Mecha but pass, and then they end up ripping out your whole hand, your extra deck, all kinds of crazy stuff, and you're just like, dang, I can't even play Yu-Gi-Oh! Now. So this deck is just stupid oppressive. Honestly, Dinos, Mekk-Knights, and Mermails kind of fall in a similar category. We're going first. They have one of the most degenerate plays ever, just taking away your resources and locking you completely out of the game, dang near. And then they're super strong going second too. So in number 3, the next 3 are just very obvious. Salad, Adamancipator, and Eldlich. The order is number 3 Salad, number 2 Adamancipator in all variants, and then number 1 Eldlich in all variants. I don't really need to talk too much about these because these are more known. I'm sorry, my love. You called. If I answered, it would have cut the video off and I would have to start all over. So for Salamangreats, I put them in number 3. Huh? Salamangreats, I put them in number 3 because they're obviously not as strong as Adamant and Eldlich, but at the same time, they're a tried and true deck, even with only 1 Gazelle, with no Mirage Stalio, you know, with the hits they've taken with Circle to 1 and things of that nature. The consistency hits that this deck has taken is still just super duper strong. Access Code Talker and Splash Mage. I love you. Access Code Talker and Splash Mage just give this deck like an alternative win condition where with just 2 Cyburst monsters on field, you could actually just go for game. Because you have a play where you can actually go to Update Jammer and then you link it off into Access Code Talker. Access Code Talker gets the attack. Access Code Talker then clears your opponent's entire field and then attacks for 4,300 2 times. That's game, just by having 2 Cyburst monsters on the field. So Salamangreats have a higher damage output and can close the game way earlier now. And they're able to play so many hand traps, it's just ridiculous. And it has 1 card combos to set its board up. All you need to do is just basically set a board up that can keep you alive, and then you could kill your opponent. You could simplify the game state with all your hand traps and your counter trap and your normal trap. Rage and Roar is still really, really strong. And the fact that you can loop them off of Falco and also Sunlight Wolf is just stupid. So Salamangreats are just a really, really strong deck. Kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, like it's been said about it before. It's good going first and going second because it plays so many hand traps. It has its weak points, but every deck has a weakness. Otherwise, you know, it would just be like, it'd be emergency banned if it had no weaknesses. Number 2, I put Adamancipators below Eldlich because Adamancipators do not really have a backup plan to fall on, whereas Eldlich do. Eldlich can put up boards that are almost just as oppressive as Adamancipators, except it's not requiring like multiple cards. It's just off of a 1-card combo off of Jet Synchron, just going into Needle Fiber shenanigans, Synchro Turboing. So Eldlich also, you know, like I said, it has that backup plan, and it has a higher ceiling going second too because of Golden Lord, able to play through multiple eruptions, just being able to send a card and then bring a body back out on field. That takes care of 2 threats. So even if it's just like, for example, an Arclight, or, you know, not Arclight, I want to say like an Appaloosa or like 2 Jackal Kings, you could pitch Golden Lord to target Jackal King, it gets negated, then uses effect from grave, they have to negate it again, otherwise he comes out at 3,500, it can swing over anything dang near. So Eldlich also can play going second, it can main deck hand traps. So the reason why Adamancipator, you don't really have to talk about it. I mean, Block Dragon is a card that just makes the deck able to grind, and it has backup, so it's one of the most, if not the best combo deck, because it has backup plans. You could break its board and it could remake it again. But also at the same time, Adamancipator is still a bit luck based. You can whiff on your rocks and you can get really unlucky and just not hit any rocks at all. That's a possibility. You're only looking at the top 10s, I mean the top 5. So with Adamant, nothing's guaranteed. At least when you're playing Eldlich if your opponent does not interrupt your Needle Fiber, you have a guaranteed combo. But with Adamancipators, it's like, dang, if you miss on all your rocks, you have to rely on basically Block Dragon and Needle Fiber and Union Carrier as your backup plan so that you can do something. But with Eldlich, you know, you have like basically a more consistent way to get to your combo, and you don't have to rely on luck. You know, obviously you still have a high probability of hitting a rock if you're looking at the top 5 of your deck. But I'm just saying, because Adamancipators does have that luck factor, kind of like Burning Abyss and Lightsworn's milling, it doesn't have necessarily the same consistency as sealing as Eldlich. It doesn't have the same strengths going second. It's able to play through multiple interruptions and negations and hand traps so long as they don't remove the cards from field. And it is able to grind with Block Dragon. It is able to lock you out of the extra deck and put multiple negations up. But with Eldlich can lock you out of your entire deck too. It can lock you out of the game. It only needs like 1 card to do it. It has backup plans. You can Dark Ruler no more Adamancipators, and all they're living and dying off of is just the Destruction Sword lock. If you have a Cosmic Cyclone or just a Kaiju, it's done. You know, you could break their whole board. And basically a symbol board of your own that could stop them from playing. With Eldlich, you could Dark Ruler no more their combo board. You're probably still under Calamities if they're playing that variant. They still have the Eldlich back rolls. They also still have their hand traps. So they have 3 different ways to interrupt you. Through their back rolls, through their monsters and their boss monsters, and also through their hand traps. Adamancipators can play hand traps, but they don't really play anything except Nibiru's. Adamancipators does not have backup back rolls to fall upon, and it does not really play around Dark Ruler more as easily, and it can't really go into VFD. You know, it can just basically lock you out your extra deck. So it's easier to break an Adamancipator board and play into building your own board than it is to try to break an Eldlich board and then still get disrupted by their back rolls, by their counter trap, by their Trident, by their DD Crow traps, by their and they're able to grind really, really long. Like, they have a really, really strong grind game, and they main deck hand traps. Some Eldlich builds can main deck like 8 to 10 hand traps, relying on a 1-card combo to get to their boss monsters, and at the same time still having the Eldlich back rolls to fall upon. That's why it's #1, really. Eldlich is just like, dang. It has something coming from every angle. If you look at it, it's like, dang, he's throwing back rolls at me. He has multiple negations. He has like Arc Like Savage or VFD. And then on top of that, he has hand traps in his hand. It's like, dang, what's going on here? Like, you could side Lightning Storms, Evenlies, and Dark Rulers and still not have a Call by the Grave and get hand trapped and then lose because your combo got interrupted. You could side Evenly and Dark Ruler, you know, just to take care of the board, like try to take care of their board presence, still lose to the back row. Or you could side like Lightning Storm, take care of their boss monsters, still lose to the back row. You could just Dinko second their back row, still lose to the boss monsters. You could have a Call by the Grave for the hand traps and still lose to the boss monsters and the back row. So it's really, really hard to side deck against this deck. Even if you Nibiru them for their Needle Fiber combo, they'll still have hand traps and they'll still have back rows. So this deck can be really, really, really annoying because it requires too much preparation to actually be able to beat this deck going second. And it's still a strong deck going second too. You know, it has a 1-card combo, it has hand traps, and Golden Lord is just a really, really strong card for spot removal. So Eldlich is by far, hands down, like the #1 best deck. It can easily clap even Shaddolls, which is like kind of one of my favorites on this list. And also, unlike some of the few decks, Eldlich and Shaddolls are like the only decks on this list that can get hand looped and actually capitalize off of that, because the Eldlich back rows and the Shaddolls cards get value in graveyards. So it's not going to lose if it gets hand looped by like Mekk-Knights or Mermails. It still will be able to play. It's same thing with Sally. Sally can play out of its graveyard to an extent. So that's the strength that those 3 decks do have, is they can get hand looped and they can still play, which is really, really nice. That's the top 10 best decks. Honorable mentions is gonna go to Trickstars, Lair of Darkness, Grin Manju, Blue Eyes, Harpies, Generators, Infernoids, Herald of Perfection, my boy, Galaxy Eyes, Photon, Crusadius, Thunder, Prankids, Ritual Beast, Zodiac, PK, Phantom Knights, you know, Heroes, Ballpark, Dark Magician, Cyber Dragons, Geist, Magical Musketeers, Pure Invoked, Dragmas, Necros, Burning Abyss, Time Thieves, all Pendulum variants, Metaphors, Indies, Zephyr, Pinmag, you know, even Dino Mist, Gladiator Beast, Plunder Patrols, Black Wings, Raid Raptors, Cybers, Pure, Infinite Track, Trains, Machinas, Rockets, Dragon Link, and Crystron, Noble Knights, including Flame Noble Knights, Spellbooks, and Tinnies. And if I miss a deck, Unchained, you know, if I miss a deck, I tried. You guys saw all these honorable mentions. You can't get them all. So, you know, please don't get your feelings hurt just because I didn't honorable mention your deck. I'm going to say a quick little prayer and I'm going to just get out this video. Thank you, Lord Jesus. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Jesus. Thy kingdom come and thy will be done on earth just as it is in heaven. Please give us this day our daily bread, Lord, and please forgive us of our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, Father, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the glory, and the power forever. In the mighty name of Jesus we pray. Thank you, Heavenly Father. Amen. All right, you guys, I'm about to get out of here. Deuces is wild, yo.